Hey guys, today's April the 20th of 2022, and I wanted to go over Netflix. I've been watching CNBC and watching the financial news outlets, and Netflix is a hot topic. So I wanted to see if it was possible to predict this using using spectrum cycle analysis. And I want to give it a shot and see what nuances I could pick up and see what we can learn from this. So I'm doing a n sample here. What that means is that the spectrum cycle analyzer only knows the data from January the 20th of 21 all the way to the left. The spectrum analyzer doesn't see any of this in the future. We know because we see it in hindsight, but for the purposes of backtesting and seeing how your models work, this is how I would approach it. I would take it from 3 points. I would take it from this point here and then do that last point before the leg went up where we hit that peak and it crashed. You want to do like a peak high, a peak low right before it goes up, and then that last peak. So you want to use 3 points and then just see what the spectrum analyzers picks up on the weekly chart. Mind you, this is a weekly chart, weekly closes. And the data set that I have goes all the way back. This is important too, all the way to November 6th, the week of November 6th of 2006. We're going to be using June, the June 7th, the week of June 7th, 2021. And then we're going to pick that high peak of October 25th. So using the January 20th swing high, I want to see what the cycles are saying. The first cycle that comes up, it's the 126, sorry, which is this one. As you can see that it tops out here November the 2nd and it projects down. It doesn't see none of this. It's just saying on the weekly, you're getting already toppy and it's already in a down cycle since like November the 9th around there. Another cycle that is the 180. So remember those numbers, 126 and the 180. The 180 is this one right here. And you can see that the 180 was saying it's going to get toppy somewhere around July the 12th, around there, the 19th. But mind you, you see that it kept going. The top really happened October the 20th. Well, I think the top was November 17th, that candle high. But since this is closed, it doesn't reflect those spikes. But you see it's here, and it says at the top, it gets toppy around July the 19th. You do a composite of those two, the 180 and the 126, and this is what you get. It tops out here, and then it goes down. But if you really see what Netflix did, they didn't follow the cycles down. Most of the times they do happen. They follow the cycles. Sometimes they just go sideways, or sometimes they just go in the opposite direction of the cycle. And in this case with Netflix, this is what happened. And that's using from a end sample of January the 20th. So I want you to see how these cycles, the spectrum analyzer, would have helped us here. Right now, it's just kind of giving us, hey, the down cycle has peaked here on the, let's do the 126 again so you can see it. Peaked up here. We're in a down cycle. And the 180 by itself gave us a top cycle is approaching July the 20th. So if we would have gone here and it started pointing down, everybody would have been seeing price action going higher and would have been like, you know what, this cycle's probably not going to work. All right, so those are the two cycles. And when you do a composite, it doesn't even get any better. It's just saying that the cycles are down. Let's get that out of the way. So now let's get the data set now to a little more, this is June 7th, the week of June 7th in there, and see what would come up. And what comes up here is the 128 cycle, which was close to the 126. See, still remains in a downward cycle. This is a strong cycle, and it went from 128 and it bumped up to actually 126 and it got bumped up to 128. But the cycle still remained down on the weekly chart. And the next one would be the 178. So it kind of adjusted a little bit from 180. Now I went to 178, and it still remains the same, somewhere around the week of the 21st of June. The cycle peaked and it's pointing down. But we know that price action just exploded to the upside. You do a composite of those two, the 178 and the 128, and it kind of looks like the one when we had our end sample here of January the 20th. So nothing really there. What we could get from here is that from January, these two composites together, we're saying that it's getting toppy here. Just be cautious, and and you'll be at your own risk with whatever happens. And when it started going up, it was going against the cycle, from what I see using these two data sets. Now let's go like if we pick the peak right here. So we picked from here, and you can see that it was getting toppy here, and maybe somewhere around June, around here gets toppy. So now we have data all the way from October the 25th, that week of 2021. What comes out in the spectrum analyzer, there's a 132, which is this one. It increased from like 128 to 132, and it still remains the same, January around there, the 18th. And then there's also the 181, and the last data set we picked was 178. So now this is 181, which is this one. And now it kind of got pushed a little over to like July the 26th. It got pushed over a little bit, and it was a peak. So you take 181 and the 132 together and do a composite, and they still are telling you that the cycles are still down. And this is what happened here. And it's ugly. I mean, it kept going down. What can we get from this? What can we learn from this? And I could probably do the daily. Let's see the daily. I mean, what I could learn from this here is that on the weekly, when the cycles are topped out and they're pointing lower, and they're from different cycle points, like the 132 right here. Obviously, we probably wouldn't get it from here, but more realistically, when you're doing an analysis, you'll probably be getting it from any of these peaks around here. But you can see from this extreme high and this extreme low, it was kind of in the same ballpark range of averages of the cycle, like from like here to here. But they were both already topped out or hit a peak. What you can learn from here is that when these cycles peak out on the weekly and price action either goes sideways or goes higher, it could be very dangerous if the cycles play out. Because if price action is going up, it's going against the cycle, and nobody knew what was going on in Netflix, and all of a sudden, from October 25th on, it just starts crashing. Kind of interesting how that played out. Anyway, hopefully I just share this. This is great backtesting insights, so you can kind of get a glance at what happens with your spectrum cycles, and see how these tools work out, and how you can look at it into the future. By using this as an example. So when weekly cycles are on a downtrend and price actions just consolidate and then explode, just be very cautious that maybe it's in trading talk, it could be a nice little head fake to get everybody going in one direction and then just pull the carpet down and get everybody caught, with their pants down. That kind of scenario. I've always said the weekly always dominates. Actually, the bigger time frames always dominate the smaller time frame. So in the weekly, that's what pretty much was dominating. It was down, and then you could look at the daily charts for the daily swing points, and then you could take it from there. Hopefully you like this video, and I'll keep you posted on my thoughts and cycle stuff and market theory and double E Gann stuff using price and time technical analysis.